Part 2, Chapter 6 of A Guide to Health. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by M.K. Subhash Chandra. www.subhashsings.com. A Guide to Health by Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. Translated by A. Rama Iyer. Chapter 6. Contagious Diseases. Smallpox. Now we will proceed to deal with the treatment of contagious diseases. They have a common origin, but since smallpox is by far the most important of them, we will give a separate chapter to it, dealing with the rest in another chapter. We are all terribly afraid of the smallpox and have very crude notions about it. We in India even worship it as a deity. In fact, it is caused, just like other diseases, by the blood getting impure owing to some disorder of the bowels, and the poison that accumulates in the system is expelled in the form of smallpox. If this view is correct, then there is absolutely no need to be afraid of smallpox. If it were really a contagious disease, everyone should catch it by merely touching the patient. But this is not always the case. Hence, there is really no harm in touching the patient, provided we take some essential precautions in doing so. We cannot, of course, assert the smallpox is never transmitted by touch, for those that are physically in a condition favorable to its transmission will catch it. This is why, in a locality where smallpox has appeared, many people are found attacked by it at the same time. This has given rise to the superstition that it is a contagious disease, and hence to attempt to mislead the people into the belief that vaccination is an effective means of preventing it. The process of vaccination consists in injecting into the skin the liquid that is obtained by applying the discharge from the body of a smallpox patient to the udder of a cow. The original theory was that a single vaccination would suffice to keep a man immune from this disease for life. But when it was found that even vaccinated persons were attacked by the disease, a new theory came into being that the vaccination should be renewed after a certain period, and today it has become the rule for all persons, whether already vaccinated or not, to get themselves vaccinated whenever smallpox rages as an epidemic in any locality, so that it is no uncommon thing to come across people who have been vaccinated 5 or 6 times or even more. Vaccination is a barbarous practice, and it is one of the most fatal of all the delusions current in our time, not to be found even among the so-called savage races of the world. Its supporters are not content with its adoption by those who have no objection to it, but seek to impose it with the aid of penal laws and rigorous punishments on all people alike. The practice of vaccination is not very old, dating as it does only from 1798 AD. But during this comparatively short period that has elapsed, millions have fallen a prey to the delusion that those who get themselves vaccinated are safe from the attack of smallpox. No one can say that smallpox will necessarily attack those who have not been vaccinated, for many cases have been observed of unvaccinated people being free from its attack. From the fact that some people who are not vaccinated do get the disease, we cannot of course conclude that they would have been immune if only they had got themselves vaccinated. Moreover, vaccination is a very dirty process, for the serum which is introduced into the human body includes not only that of the cow but also of the actual smallpox patient. An average man would even vomit at the mere sight of this stuff. If the hand happens to touch it, it is always washed with soap. The mere suggestion of tasting it fills us with indignation and disgust. But how few of those who get themselves vaccinated realize that they are in effect eating this filthy stuff. Most people know that in several diseases, medicines and liquid food are injected into the blood, and that they are assimilated into the system more rapidly than if they were taken through the mouth. The only difference, in fact, between injection and the ordinary process of eating through the mouth is that the assimilation in the former case is instantaneous, while that in the latter is slow. And yet we do not shrink from getting ourselves vaccinated. As has been well said, cowards die a living death, and our craze for vaccination is solely due to the fear of death or disfigurement by smallpox. I cannot also help feeling that vaccination is a violation of the dictates of religion and morality. The drinking of the blood of even dead animals is looked upon with horror even by habitual meat eaters. Yet, what is vaccination but the taking in of the poisoned blood of an innocent living animal? Better far were it for God-fearing men that they should 1,000 times become the victims of smallpox and even die a terrible death than that they should be guilty of such an act of sacrilege. Several of the most thoughtful men in England have laboriously investigated the manifold evils of vaccination, and an anti-vaccination society has also been formed there. The members of this society have declared open war against vaccination, and many have even gone to gaol for this cause. Their objections to vaccination are briefly as follows. 1. The preparation of vaccine from the udder of cows or calves entails untold suffering on thousands of innocent creatures, and this cannot possibly be justified by any gains resulting from vaccination. 2. Vaccination, instead of doing good, works considerable mischief by giving rise to many new diseases. Even its advocates cannot deny that, after its introduction, many new diseases have come into being. 3. The vaccine that is prepared from the blood of a smallpox patient is likely to contain and transmit the germs of all the several diseases that he may be suffering from. 4. There is no guarantee that smallpox will not attack the vaccinated. Dr. Jenner, the inventor of vaccination, originally supposed that perfect immunity could be secured by a single injection on a single arm. But when it was found to fail, it was asserted that vaccination on both arms would serve the purpose. And when even this proved ineffectual, it came to be held that both the arms should be vaccinated at more than one place and that it should also be renewed once in 7 years. Finally, the period of immunity has further been reduced to 3 years. All this clearly shows that doctors themselves have no definite views on the matter. The truth is, as we have already said, that there is no saying that smallpox will not attack the vaccinated, or that all cases of immunity must needs be due to vaccination. 5. The vaccination is a filthy substance, and it is foolish to expect that one kind of filth can be removed by another. By these and similar arguments, this society has already produced a large volume of public opinion against vaccination. In a certain town, for instance, a large proportion of the people refuse to be vaccinated, and yet statistics prove that they are singularly free from disease. The fact of the matter is that it is only the self-interest of doctors that stands in the way of the abolition of this inhuman practice, for the fear of losing the large incomes that they at present derive from this source blinds them to the countless evils which it brings. There are, however, a few doctors who recognize these evils and who are determined opponents of vaccination. Those who are conscientious objectors to vaccination should, of course, have the courage to face all penalties and persecutions to which they may be subjected by law and stand alone, if need be, against the whole world in defense of their conviction. Those who object to it merely on the grounds of health should acquire a complete mastery of the subject and should be able to convince others of the correctness of their views and convert them into adopting those views in practice. But those who have neither definite views on the subject nor courage enough to stand up for their convictions should no doubt obey the laws of the state and shape their conduct in deference to the opinions and practices of the world around them. Those who object to vaccination should observe all the more strictly the laws of health already explained, for the strict observance of these laws ensures in the system those vital forces which counteract all disease germs and is therefore the best protection against smallpox as well as other diseases. If, while objecting to the introduction of the poisonous vaccine into the system, they surrendered themselves to the still more fatal poison of sensuality, they would undoubtedly forfeit their right to ask the world to accept their views on the matter. When smallpox has actually appeared, the best treatment is the wet sheet pack, which should be applied 3 times a day. It relieves the fever and the sores heal rapidly. There is no need at all to apply oils or ointments on the sores. If possible, a mud poultice should be applied in 1 or 2 places. The diet should consist of rice and light fresh fruits, all rich fruits like date and almond being avoided. Normally, the sores should begin to heal under the wet sheet pack in less than a week. If they do not, it means that the poison in the system has not been completely expelled. Instead of looking upon smallpox as a terrible disease, we should regard it as one of the nature's best experiments for getting rid of the accumulated poison in the body and the restoration of normal health. After an attack of smallpox, the patient remains weak for some time and in some cases even suffers from other ailments. But this is due not to the smallpox itself, but to the wrong remedies employed to cure it. Thus, the use of quinine in fever often results in deafness and even leads to extreme form of it known as quininism. So too, the employment of mercury in venereal diseases leads to many new forms of disease. Then again, too frequent use of purgatives in constipation brings on ailments like the piles. The only sound system of treatment is that which attempts to remove the root causes of disease by a strict observance of the fundamental laws of health. Even the costly bhasmas, which are supposed to be unfailing remedies for such diseases, are in effect highly injurious, for although they may seem to do some good, they excite the evil passions and ultimately ruin the health. After the vesicles on the body have given place to scabs, olive oil should be constantly applied and the patient bathed every day. Then the scabs rapidly fall off and even the pox soon disappear, the skin recovering its normal color and freshness. End of Contagious Diseases, Smallpox. Recording by M.K. Subhash Chandra, www.subhashsings.com.